Hey MIPS students! Welcome to our virtual apple orchard field trip. We wish we could be drinking cider and eating donuts with you on the farm, but we're excited for you to enjoy reading stories, baking a yummy treat, and making some crafts with us today. We hope you'll enjoy following along with our elementary team, but remember, this is a video you can pause at any time. If we're working on a craft or baking a treat and you need a little more time before the next direction, feel free to pause the video and pick it up again when you're ready. We hope you have a blast on our virtual apple orchard field trip. Let's get started.
Hey guys, it's me, Miss Rose, and today I'd like to share with you The Seasons of Arnold's Apple Tree by Gail Givens. Arnold climbs up high into the branches of the apple tree. He can see far, far away in every direction. This is Arnold's very own secret place. This is Arnold's apple tree. Arnold's tree keeps him very busy all through the year. It is spring. Arnold watches the small buds grow on his apple tree. Some of the buds develop into sweet-smelling apple blossoms. Carefully and quietly, Arnold watches bees collect nectar from the blossoms to make honey. Arnold makes a swing for his apple tree. Look at that cool swing. He weaves an apple blossom wreath and hangs it from a branch. Arnold picks an armful of apple blossoms and brings it to his family. They make a flower arrangement together. That's nice. It is summer. Arnold's apple tree has big green leaves that rustle in the wind. Arnold builds a tree house. Look at that cool tree house. His apple tree shades him from the hot summer sun. The green leaves shelter him during a summer shower. He's having a picnic in his tree. Arnold watches small apples begin to grow from where the blossoms used to be. They grow bigger, bigger, and bigger. With some of the big green apples, Arnold does a juggling act for his tree friend. It is fall. Arnold's apple tree now has big, red, tasty apples. The green leaves have turned golden. They drift to the ground. Arnold gathers some of the leaves and brings them up to his treehouse to make a soft floor to lie on. Arnold shakes the branches and red apples fall to the ground. He puts them in a basket and takes them home. What do you guys think he's going to do with them once he gets home? Arnold and his family make apple pies with apples from Arnold's apple tree. They put the rest of the apples into a cider press and make fresh apple cider. Wow, delicious. On Halloween Day, Arnold decorates some of the biggest apples. They glow in the moonlight under his tree on Halloween night. It is winter. Snow falls, it is quiet. The branches of Arnold's apple tree are bare. Arnold hangs strings of popcorn and berries on them for the winter birds to eat. He builds a snow fort around the bottom of his tree. Arnold builds a snowman to keep him and his tree company during the winter. Look at his cool snowman. I can't wait to build my snowman in winter. The snow melts away. It is spring again. I hope you guys enjoyed this book. I had such a great time reading it to you. Thanks, and I'll see you again. Bye.
Hey MIPS students, Mrs. Hoppy here. I'm excited to do an apple craft with you today. And so I'll start by showing you a finished product. This is one I made. Hopefully you can see that okay. What it is a little apple core, and it's got a magnet on the back, so you can hang that on your refrigerator or wherever a magnet can go. Okay? So I wanted to start by saying, if yours doesn't end up looking exactly like mine, that's okay, okay? So we're all unique, and ours are all going to come out different. Mine doesn't look exactly like the example I followed, and that's okay. All right, so there's our example. Now to make this craft, you should have received one of these in the mail. So if you have that, now's the time to take it out. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and we'll see what's inside. So the first thing I see is we have an apple cider packet. Yum, I love these. So if you like apple cider, you can make yourself a glass and be drinking that during our field trip if you'd like. But for now, when we're crafting, I'm going to set that aside and drink mine later. You should also have, let's see here, 2 pieces of red foam. And on one of those is taped a brown piece of paper, okay? I'm going to set that aside. There's also a little green piece of foam and a tiny little magnet, and it's got the sticker on the back, so don't take that off until we're ready to stick it. And then lastly, you should have some popsicle sticks, and there is 1 mini popsicle stick and 4 regular popsicle sticks, okay? So those are all the supplies that should have come in the mail. Now, in addition to that, you're going to need a pair of scissors and a black marker. A Sharpie works great, or any black marker, black pen, anything black. And then I have wood glue. Some of you might have a hot glue gun or another strong kind of glue, but this seemed to work well for me, okay? So to get started, our first step is I'm going to have you take all 4 of your regular popsicle sticks, and you're going to line them up right next to each other, just like this, and make them as even as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to try to make mine even. And the next step is you're going to take your little mini popsicle stick and you're going to glue it across the popsicles, the large popsicle sticks, to make them all stay together. Now, one important thing I want to point out using my example is, hopefully you can see this, but the mini popsicle stick is glued diagonally because I didn't want it to pop out the sides. So on the front, I don't see it. So it's just holding it all together, okay? It's not meant to be seen. So if you put it straight across, it's gonna come out of the sides, and I don't want that. So as to the best of your ability, glue it on there diagonally so that you can't see it in the front, okay? So I'm gonna get my wood glue, and it's a little dried up, so we'll see if I can get some glue out. Mine's a little dry, so I'm going to just open the cap and kind of be unique here and dip it on. Okay. Kind of making a mess here, but that's okay. Okay, so I have my wood glue on my popsicle stick, and I'm going to glue that on diagonally. And I'm going to press it, and try not to wiggle too much so I don't move it all while it's drying. And I'm just going to give that a minute to dry before I try to move it so I don't mess up my popsicle sticks. So just count maybe to 30. Depends on what you're using. If you're using hot glue, maybe it takes a little longer. But give it a minute and really press it down without moving. Okay. Mine's feeling pretty firm. Let's see, I'm still going to be careful with it, but you can see I have mine glued diagonally there. And when I look at the front, I don't see my little popsicle stick, so that's good. All right, so that part's done. I'm just going to let that keep drying and set that aside for a minute. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to make the red part of our apple where it looks like someone ate the core, right? They ate the middle. So to do that, first thing I want to do is I'm going to gently take off the brown piece of paper. That was taped on there because the brown piece is not a strong piece of paper and I didn't want it to wrinkle in the mail. So I'm just going to gently untape that. You might want an adult to help if you're not sure you can do that, and set that aside. Now you actually have an extra piece of red foam, so you don't need both, but if maybe you mess up on one or want to make another one later, you have two pieces. So hopefully I'll get it right the first time. So I have my one piece, and basically I'm going to do a circle on here to the best of my ability. Now it can be a little tricky to draw circles, so mine probably won't be perfect. At home you might have a round cup or something you can trace. That's a really good idea. So if you want to put a glass on there and you can trace a circle, I'm going to try to freehand it. It might not be perfect, but that's okay. So here I go. I'm going to try to draw a circle. Okay, so my circle is not perfect, and that's okay. There's my circle. And now I'm going to cut it out. So I'm going to take my scissors and cut out my circle. And again, you have that second piece there. So if you mess up your circle and you're not happy, you can try again. But just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Crafts are meant to be unique. So I'm going to cut out my circle. And now that I cut it out, I'm just going to try to make it a little more circle-y. Mine's a little funny shaped. Okay, so that's an okay circle. All right, so now the next thing I want to do is I'm actually going to cut the circle in half. So half of it's going to be the top and half of it's going to be the bottom. So just right down the middle, and you can even fold it if you want and make a line. And that way you know you're cutting right down the middle. So now I have a little crease in my circle, and I'm going to cut that. Okay, so now I have the top and the bottom of my apple core. So next I need to cut out these little bites out of my apple, okay? Now you could use a marker and you could draw on those little half circles and then cut them out, or you can freehand it. Just depends how careful you want to be. So I'm going to draw mine just because. So I'm going to go from the corner and do a bunch of little half circles. And I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done. Okay, so mine kind of looks like this. Can you see that? And I'm going to do that on the bottom as well, same thing. Okie dokie. Now I'm going to cut those out. So I have my top and bottom, and I'm going to cut out on that black line. And I'm going to try to cut it so that I don't see any of the black left over, because I just want to see red. Okie dokie. And it doesn't have to be perfectly even, because just like if you were eating an apple, it would all look different. Every bite is different. Okay, so there's one piece. And I'll do my bottom. Alright, so I have my top and bottom of my apple. And I can already tell I made a bigger circle this time than last time. Can you see that? So this apple is going to look a little different, and we'll see how it turns out, okay? Alright, so I am actually going to go ahead and glue those right on to my popsicle sticks. And let's see here. Okay, so I might actually make mine a little smaller. I think it is a little big, and that's easy to do. So mine's a little big, and I'm just going to round off this corner and make it a smaller apple. And I'm going to do the same thing to this one. Just round off one corner. So if you find that your circle ended up being too big, that's okay. You can kind of trim it and make it how you like. Okay. So now that looks a little better to me. I'm going to do this in the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to glue those into place. And I want to glue it so that I don't see popsicle sticks, but I want it not to be glued way up here. I want it to be lined up pretty close with the top, like that, okay? So I'm going to use some wood glue. And again, mine's kind of, the cap is all crusted shut, so I'm doing this very oddly and dipping it. But I'm going to actually put the glue right onto the popsicle sticks. Like that. And then I'm going to gently set this at the top, and I'm going to hold it. I'm going to take 2 fingers and lightly press it so it sticks. And then I'll do the same for the bottom. And again, I'm putting the glue on the popsicle sticks, not the foam, so that way I can place the foam exactly where I want it on the edge of those popsicle sticks. Alrighty, and I'll put my bottom piece on, and I'm going to use 2 fingers again and slightly press it, apply some pressure, get that to dry in place. And you'll probably want to give this a few seconds too to make sure it's all dry. Okay, so now I have the top and bottom of my apple. Alrighty, so we're getting towards the end, guys. What we'll do next is we are going to cut out the tiny little apple stem with the brown paper and the leaf with the green paper. So the first thing is the stem. And really, it's up to you. How tall do you want your stem to be? How big do you want it to be? I made mine pretty thin and a little taller, so I'll probably do that again. So I'm going to take my brown piece of paper, and again, it has that tape on it, so you'll want to be very gentle so you don't rip it. And take that tape off, okay? You might want to ask a mom or dad or an adult to help you with that so you don't rip it. And I'm going to cut my piece a little thinner than the piece I have here. there's my stem. Now I'm going to cut my leaf, and for my leaf, I'm going to leave one edge flat, and then I'm going to cut a triangle, okay? So I'll show you what mine looks like. You can do it however you want your leaf to look. Okay, so there's my leaf, okay? I just made a little triangle-ish shape. And what I want to do is I'm going to glue, first I'm going to glue the stem down to the popsicle sticks, then I'm going to glue the leaf second on top of the stem and have it poke out just as much as I want. So first I'm going to take my stem and I'm going to kind of look at it and say, okay, how tall do I want that to be? I want it to be about there. So I'm going to glue it on. And again, I'm going to use my little bit of wood glue. And I'm going to put it on the popsicle stick. And glue that stem down. Apply some pressure. Wait a few seconds. Okay, so now I have my stem. Next, I'm gonna take my leaf. Where did I set that? Here it is. And I'm gonna glue that so that's poking out over the top, okay? Just as much as I like. So I'll lay it down again and apply a little bit of glue on the popsicle sticks again. And I will hold that foam down until I feel like it's secure. Alrighty. So there, I have my leaf, I have my stem, my top and bottom. We're getting pretty close, guys. Only 2 more steps. Okay, so next I need some little apple seeds in the core, right? So that's where my black marker comes into play. And I just did 3 on this one. I'll probably do the same. So here I go. Color it in. And you can do as many as you'd like, and you can place them wherever you'd like. I kind of like the look of 3, but everybody's is going to be different. There's no right way. All right, so there are my seeds. So it's all coming together. My last step is I'm going to put the magnet on the back so I can put it on my fridge. So you have your little round magnet, and again, there's that white sticker on the back. So you want to be careful. Usually you have to use a little bit of a nail to get under that sticker and peel it up. Now it's sticky. And I'm going to stick it on my little diagonal popsicle stick because that one already pokes out. And so I want the magnet to poke out the furthest so I can stick it to the fridge. So I'm going to stick it on there. Now the whole magnet isn't going to fit on that little popsicle stick, and that's okay. It can just stick to part of it and hold it tight, apply some pressure, squeeze, squeeze. Make sure it's really stuck there, okay? And then voila, you have a magnet. So I could go put this on my fridge and that would be really cool. And there is my apple craft, guys. I hope yours turned out great. Please send me pictures. I would love to see your craft. I'd love to see you making the craft, all the steps, your finished product. If you hang it somewhere special, I'd love to see it. So be sure to send us pictures. You can email those to your mentor, or you can email it directly to me at mhoppy@miprepschool.org. I would love to see those. One last thing I just want to point out, look how different both of mine look. Same craft, turned out totally different both times, but they're both pretty cute. So don't worry if yours doesn't look just like mine, it's not supposed to, okay? Alright guys, that was lots of fun. I'm gonna go make my hot cider and watch the rest of this field trip. Alright, bye!
Miss Oliver here, and I am coming to you from my kitchen. Today I have my daughter Gianna with me. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Can you tell everybody how old you are?
9.
And what grade are you in?
4.
Good. And Gianna is going to assist me today when we make our yummy treat in honor of our virtual field trip to the apple orchard. Today we're going to be making apple pie bites. Yum! Are you excited? I know you are. Okay, the first things first is make sure to wash your hands with soap and water. Gianna and I already did that, so we're all set. The next thing you want to do is you want to ask a parent or an adult to help you preheat the oven. You have to preheat the oven to 375, and we have already done that, so we are good to go with that. Now, everything you need for this recipe was emailed to you by Mrs. Hoppy. So if you want to make that recipe, you can go ahead and look in your email or your parents' email, and it'll be there. Everything you need are apples, any kind you like, and you can have them peeled or not peeled. It just depends on whatever you like. Gianna likes her apples peeled, right?
Yeah. And
then you need crescent rolls and some sugar and cinnamon, and then some melted butter. And I also have a lemon here because when I cut my apples, I put a little bit of lemon juice in them because it helps them from not turning brown. So the first thing we're going to do is take a 1/4 cup of sugar and a teaspoon of cinnamon. Gianna, can you mix that together? Can you pour the cinnamon in there for us? Good job. Go ahead and stir it around a little bit. And while she's stirring that, I already have my apples cut up into slices. I'm just gonna take half of my melted butter and I'm gonna pour it over the apples. How you doing over there, G?
Good.
Good. And now Gianna's gonna take half of the cinnamon sugar. Can you take half of the cinnamon sugar and pour it in here?
Do I use it?
Yep, sure. Sprinkle. I'll stir. Keep sprinkling. We're just gonna mix. There you go. All right, that's perfect. And then we're gonna save the rest of the melted butter and the cinnamon sugar for the end. After we wrap these in our crescent rolls, we're going to brush the top of the crescent rolls with the rest of the cinnamon and sugar. So let's put this over here, and then you will need a cookie sheet. If you have parchment paper, you can line it with parchment paper. If not, no big deal at all. Just put it on a plain cookie sheet. So let's see if we can get this open. These are always tricky. And I always have to do this. There we go. So there's that. And what we're gonna do is, here Gianna, you can help me, is we're gonna separate these on our cookie sheet and just lay them out. Go ahead, do that side. Just like this. Perfect. Lay them out. And the recipe says just to put 1 apple slice in each of them, but I think I'm gonna do a couple because some of these are big. There we go. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Just go ahead and lay this down until we wrap them and then we can do it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna take a couple apple slices and just put them in here. Here, go ahead, G, grab a couple. Put like 2 on each. If they're really big, you can put them down by the big triangle part. Perfect. And just keep filling them up. Oh, only 2 big. See? There you go. Perfect. That one's kind of big. Go ahead and put 2 right here. Good job. These are going to be so yummy. And then you can put, here we can put the rest of them. Is there any that look like they need extra apples? What do you think?
No.
No? Let's put these there. Perfect. All right. So then we're gonna roll them up. You wanna start, here I'll show you, G. You wanna start rolling them up? Just like this. You know how we make pigs in a blanket at home? Roll them up just like that. Perfect. There you go. Keep going. Roll it up. Got that one?
No.
That one's a big one. Here, let me get that one. There. Here. You can do that one. There we go. And the last one. All right, now let's arrange these. So we can, you want to rinse your hands off? And then you can brush them with some more cinnamon sugar. All right, here. Oh. Okay, now I'll brush them with some more melted butter, and Gianna, you can sprinkle them with more cinnamon sugar, okay? Ready? So when I brush them, sprinkle after. Ooh, these are gonna be so good.
Is that enough?
Yep, sprinkle it all around. Good job. Here, you wanna switch sides? And you could probably put any kind of fruit in here. Today we're using apples in honor of our field trip to the apple orchard, but I bet you could put peaches or plums or even maybe strawberries, whatever you like. Should we try it with another one, Gianna? With another kind of fruit too?
Yeah.
What kind of fruit should we use? What other kind of fruit would you like to use?
Don't know.
Perfect. You don't know? Well, I know you like your strawberries. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put these in the preheated oven, and again, you should probably ask your parents to help you with this so you don't burn yourself. The oven gets super duper hot, and they will bake for 12 minutes. Gianna, can you set a timer for 12 minutes?
Alexa, set a timer for 12 minutes.
12 minutes, starting now.
Okay, and then we wait for Alexa to go off, and then we have a yummy treat that we will try right when they come out of the oven.
Alexa, stop.
Okay, our timer is going off, so our 12 minutes is up. So now you need to ask again a parent or an adult to help you get your cookie sheet out of the oven. Let's just take a look and see what they look like. Ooh, they look yummy. There we have it. Apple pie bites. Should we put one on a plate and try it? What do you think? I don't know, they look super hot. They're sizzling away. Let's get the small one. Ooh, what do you think?
I gotta wait until it cools off.
You're gonna wait until it cools off? I think that's probably a good idea. There we go. And that, my friends, is how you make apple pie bites. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this dessert. Everybody that makes this dessert, I want you to email me at oliver@miprepschool.org, and I want to hear all about how you enjoyed your apple pie bites. See you later. Bye.
Talk about crab apple trees today. Crab apple trees create a showy display throughout much of the year. In the spring, they explode with fragrant blooms that cover the trees for up to 2 weeks. In the late summer and fall, the leaves change color and the trees develop an abundance of small crab apples that can be left for the wildlife to enjoy or harvested for home use. If you harvest the fruit, proper timing helps you get the most from your crab apple tree. One of the best ways to tell if crab apples are ripe is to cut a few in half and look at the seeds. A ripe crab apple normally has dark brown seeds. If it's not ripe, the seeds are lighter in color and may look beige, greenish, or white. Let's cut open the crab apple and see what the seeds look like. I think they look brown.
The firmness and flavor of the apple can also help you determine when it's ripe. Crab apples are ideal when the flesh is firm and crisp, but they should be easily edible and not so hard that you struggle to take a bite. So I'm going to try one. They are sour. So that was our presentation on crab apples today. Can you guess how many crab apples are in this jar? If you guessed 91, you're right.
Hello, elementary schoolers. It's Miss Bennett here. Welcome to my kitchen. I have a fun activity that we're going to be doing today, and it's called apple pie Play-Doh. I don't know about you, but I love me some Play-Doh. It's really fun to just squish in your hands when you're bored or you want to play with it and whenever. And let me say that it's not just for the little kids, because seriously, I still play with Play-Doh and I'm an adult, so don't make fun of me though, okay? So I got all of my ingredients ready so that it was just easy peasy. We could just kind of get moving. So I'll show you what I got. I've got my flour here, and you can use corn flour, but I didn't have any corn flour, so I'm just using regular flour. If you have a gluten allergy or anything, definitely use corn flour. It works just the same. And then I've got my baking soda. You need a lot of it, so make sure you got it. So that was, just so you know, 1 cup of flour, 2 cups of baking soda. And then I've got my 1.5 cups of water. I've got a tablespoon of vegetable oil in this little cup. And then I've got my spices. We need a tablespoon of cinnamon and a tablespoon of allspice. So I just kind of combined them in there. And then I've got my red food coloring to make it look all appley. So, okay. So I do want to mention before I start that this involves using a stove. So if you don't know how to use a stove, or you're not old enough to use a stove yet, please get an adult to help you. We don't want anybody hurt. So that's my caveat there. But I've also, I've got my pan here and a wooden spoon, because the recipe says that it's going to get hard to stir. So I thought this might work really well. So what we're going to do is first we're going to put all of the ingredients into the pot, okay? So I've got my baking soda. Just set that there. Got my flour in here. And you'll notice that it's not on the heat yet. We're supposed to combine all of the ingredients, this is my water, all the ingredients before we put the heat on. Here's my vegetable oil right in there. And then I'm gonna do the food coloring right now because it's easier to add it now as opposed to later when you're kneading it. So I'm gonna add maybe 6 drops. We'll see how that goes. If it needs more, we can always add more. So, and then, I forgot to say, the spice goes in after it's done cooking and you knead it in at the end. So I'm gonna put this aside over here. Okay, and then we're gonna stir it up. So again, we haven't put it on the heat yet. We wanna make sure all the ingredients are nice and combined in our pot first, okay? It's kind of looking hard to see. It's pretty gooey right now. Just trying to combine them all. So I thought, I knew this was gonna happen. Okay, crisis averted. So I'm stirring up my ingredients here. It's kind of looking, it's pretty runny. Let me see, I can kind of, it's pretty gooey. So, and it's looking pretty red, but I might add a couple more food coloring drops in here because I want it really red. So let's try maybe 3 more. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so while I was cooking, friends, I thought I would share some fun apple pie facts with you that I found. So one of them, I'm sure this is a pretty known fact, but did you know that apple pie is wonderful with a scoop of ice cream next to it? You should try it sometime if you haven't, because it's really, really good. So another fact I have is that apple pie originated in England. It's almost 600 years old. That's pretty old. But another fact I found, which I thought was interesting, is that some people say it actually originated in Egypt in 9500 BCE. Now, I thought I'd bring that up because I don't think that's true, and I was wondering if anybody could guess why. So I'm just going to leave that out there and see if you guys can think why I'm not sure that apple pie originated in Egypt. So this is all stirred up, looking pretty gooey, like kind of looks like red slime. So now that it's all mixed up, I'm going to turn on the heat. Again, grab an adult or someone who can handle the stove. I don't want anybody getting hurt, okay? And sometimes pot handles can get hot too, so you might want to use an oven mitt just to be safe. I know this pan and it doesn't tend to get very hot, so I'm not using one, but if you are worried about that at all, please use one. So, okay, I'm going to put it on the stove, and I'm probably going to turn it on like a medium heat. Okay, so the important part here is that you got to keep stirring it. So I know I'm not stirring it right now. So I'm going to turn my back to you for a second. So I hope that you are all enjoying your time on our virtual field trip. I know it's not quite the same as being in person, but I'm very happy that you're all here hanging out with us. So I'm getting some bubbles in here now. I'm going to keep on stirring it. And you're going to know it's ready when it gets like really, really thick. And it's going to be kind of like mushy looking. And it's going to be really hard to stir. So I'm not quite there yet. When I get there, I'll show you what it looks like. But I think I'm getting there soon. So I'm going to turn my heat off on my stove. Important, friend. Okay. So now what it's looking like is, like this. So it's kind of cool. It was all mushy and gooey before, yeah, gooey, I guess is a good word. And now it's kind of thick. I wonder how that happened. You can put maybe a comment if you know why this is happening. It could be fun to discuss. Okay, so now it's hot. So we need to set it aside for a little bit so that it can cool down. Then we're going to do some kneading, okay? And I'll show you what that means in a second. So I'll see you in just a minute, all right? Hi guys, I'm back. So I let my Play-Doh cool a little bit. It was about 10 minutes that I let it sit and cool, but it honestly is still a little bit warm. So you might want to wait more like 15, 20 minutes. I'm pretty used to the heat by now. So what you're going to do is you can put it on a plate or something if you want. I'm just going to put it on my counter. I cleaned today. I know my counter's clean. That's fine. You guys can put it on the table or whatever. So I'm literally just going to scoop it all out, plop it on the counter. And I was wondering if anybody knows what kneading is. It's a part of like baking and cooking and stuff. So it's not the knead that's N-E-E-D. It's actually spelled K-N-E-A-D. So real quick, if anybody knows what kneading is, maybe put it in the comments, because I would love for you guys to share that. So I'll give you a hint. It's usually used when you're making bread. So I'm just going to put my Play-Doh right on my counter. I'll work with it there. My counter is clean. You can use a plate if you want, or maybe even like a cutting board. You just put it on your table wherever, because we're going to knead it now. So when you need something, it's kind of like this weird motion where you kind of squish it and fold it and squish it again. So it's kind of fun. And I'll tell you what, this recipe says that the Play-Doh will be sticky at first, but it won't continue to be sticky once you knead it. So what I'm going to kind of do is flatten it out just a little bit, because we're going to put our spices in. So I might do like just a little bit at a time. I'm not sure, I've never added spice to my Play-Doh before. So let's see. And then I'm just gonna kind of fold it up. Oh my goodness. This is making a big mess. But that's kind of the most fun way to do things, isn't it? So, okay. Wow. So definitely you're gonna want to do this on like a table, because this is making a huge mess. Oh, but it smells so good. Does it smell good for you guys? Hope it does. Oh man, it smells good. Okay, so now it's kind of getting combined. You gotta kind of work it in there a little bit. Okay, and that wasn't even all of it, guys. All right, let's go around 2 then. It's definitely getting sticky. So, okay, I just put all my spice in there. I'm going to continue to knead it, and I'm expecting it to get kind of messy again, but as long as we keep stirring it or kneading it in there, it'll all get combined. Hi guys. Okay. So that's how you make Play-Doh. Isn't that so fun? I used to make Play-Doh for my preschoolers when I taught preschool. I've always really enjoyed it, and it's just really fun because it's just really fresh feeling and it's all natural. So that's pretty cool. So the way that you would store this is just in a container. So like in this one, you know, just, and then you put a lid on it, and then it might get a little hard on the outside, but then you can always just mush it together. You can actually add just a touch of vegetable oil, like a drop, and mix it in there, and that kind of freshens it up again. All right, guys, well, that was how you make apple pie Play-Doh. So now you have some Play-Doh to play with, and I do too, so that's super fun. All right, well, thank you so much for hanging out with me in my kitchen, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the field trip, and I will talk to you all soon.
The Apple Orchard Riddle, written by Margaret McNamara and illustrated by G. Brian Karras. Let's see all the different kinds of apples. The kids in Mr. Tiffin's class were going on a field trip. "Hurry up, Tara," said Robert. "You'll miss the bus." Tara took a seat by herself next to the window. She liked to look outside. The Apple Orchard Riddle, written by Margaret McNamara and illustrated by G. Brian Karras. All of the different kinds of apples. The kids in Mr. Tiffin's class were going on a field trip. "Hurry up, Tara," said Robert. "You'll miss the bus." Tara took a seat by herself next to the window. She liked to look outside and wonder about things. "Tara's in dreamland again," said Anna. "The lights are on, but nobody's home," said Eleanor. Tara didn't hear them. She was too busy daydreaming. When they got to the apple orchard, everybody hurried off the bus. Everybody except Tara. Tara walked off slowly. "It takes me a little more time to do things," she said. "Yes, I've noticed," said Mr. Tiffin. As you can see, it says Hills Orchards, come on in. The class gathered around the orchard's owner, Farmer Hills. "Today," she said, "we are going to take a tour of the orchard. We'll see how apples are picked and how cider is pressed. We'll watch apples get peeled by a special machine, and we'll pick some apples off the trees. Plus, I have a riddle for you to solve," said Mr. Tiffin. "What's the riddle?" asked Charlie. Mr. Tiffin said, "Show me a little red house with no windows and no door, but with a star inside." "That's it," said Jake. "That's the riddle?" "That's the riddle," said Mr. Tiffin. "Your job is to find the answer." "How are we going to have time to figure this out while we also have to learn about apples?" asked Molly. "Are you sure this is fair?" "Yes, I'm sure," said Mr. Tiffin. I'm not very good at tests, Tara said. Well, that's lucky, because this is not a test, said Mr. Tiffin. The class walked along a path lined with trees, stretching away as far as they could see. We grow 20 variety of apples here, Farmer Hill said. Who can name some apple varieties? Granny Smith, said Jeremy. Crispin, Fuji, Gala, Red Delicious, Golden Delicious. Thank you, Eleanor, said Mr. Tiffin. Our varieties ripen at different times, so we pick them from late summer to early fall, said Farmer Hills. These pointy ladders are what we use to pick the apples off the highest branches. I'm so tall I probably wouldn't need a ladder, said Robert. Probably not, said Farmer Hills. These branches are so low we can all reach, said Charlie. That's right, said Farmer Hills. Only pick apples off the trees, not off the ground, she added. To pick an apple, twist the stem till the fruit comes off the branch. She showed the class how to do it and gave them each a small bag for holding apples. They twisted and picked till their bags were full. Tara didn't pick any apples. Instead, she sat under a tree and looked at the sky. What was that riddle again, she asked. Show me a little red house with no windows and no door, but with a star inside, said Eleanor, who was good at tests. There was an apple on the branch right above Tara's head. Tara twisted it off. This is red, she said. Farmer Hills showed the class where the apples were stored. We keep the apples cold and fresh in the storage barn, she said. That way, folks can enjoy them all year round. Jake noticed something about the building. A red house, said Jake. And look, no windows. But it has 2 doors, said Anna. And Farmer Hills just said it had apples inside, not stars, said Eleanor. So this is not the answer to the riddle, said Jake. Correct, said Eleanor. Tara wasn't looking at the barn. She was looking at her apple. She saw a tiny worm burrowing into it. Hey, look who lives here, she said. Yuck, don't eat that one, said Robert. I won't, said Tara. She laid the wormy apple carefully on the ground. Mr. Tiffin tossed her and an apple out of his bag, and she took a bite. The cider press, Farmer Hills put on a raincoat and hat before she got close to the machine. Making cider must be messy business, said Mr. Tiffin. And noisy too, said Farmer Hills. The class watched as freshly washed apples traveled up a chute to get chopped up into tiny pieces. This is called pulp, said Farmer Hills. Pulp, said Eleanor. Nice word. Next, a farmhand used a hose to spray the pulp onto canvas sheets. Cool, said Jeremy. Finally, the sheets of pulp were pressed down hard. The juice flows through these sheets into a hose, said Farmer Hills. Then it gets pumped into a big metal tank for one last treatment. And then it's cider? Asked Charlie. Then it's sterilized, and then it's cider, said Farmer Hills. Robert spotted an old tractor as they walked across the farmyard. The tractor was red with rust. Hey, he called. This tractor doesn't have a window or a door. Alex and Charlie ran over. That's because this is a tractor, not a house, said Alex. It could be a house. For mice, said Charlie. Mice sometimes live in a tractor seat. Alex and Charlie and Robert poked around the seat. There were no mice. Maybe there's a star inside, said Alex. Robert and Charlie looked all over the tractor. It had a steering wheel and a gas gauge and a couple of pedals, but no star, said Charlie. The apple peeler was the next stop. We used the peeled apples for pies and cakes, said Farmer Hills. She turned the machine on, and it peeled each apple in the blink of an eye. Whoa, said Jeremy. That's fast. Do it again. Molly and Kimmy peered into the machine, but they did not get too close. It's sort of red, said Kimmy, even though it's also a little silver. And there are definitely no windows, said Molly. No door either, said Jeremy. So we win. Yeah, but where's the star? Kimmy asked. The 3 of them watched as the machine peeled the apples one after another. No star here, said Kimmy. At the end of the tour, Farmer Hills took the class to the farm stand. Help yourselves to a cup of cider and a cider donut, she said. Just one each, said Mr. Tiffin. But Tara's not eating hers, said Jake. Tara was still munching on the core of her apple. Aren't you done with that yet? Said Robert. Not yet, said Tara. She chewed every last bit of it till she got to the seeds. 5 seeds, she said. Just then, Mr. Tiffin looked at his watch. Hey, class, he called. The bus will be here soon. Let's talk about what we learned today. We learned that apples come in a lot of different varieties, said Molly. Crispin, Fuji, Gala, Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, said Eleanor. Cider presses make a lot of noise, said Jeremy. Donuts are yummy, said Jake. How about the riddle, said Mr. Tiffin. There doesn't seem to be an answer, said Eleanor. I told you it was no fair, said Molly. Tara walked over to Mr. Tiffin. She had 5 apple seeds in one hand and a round red apple in the other. She handed Mr. Tiffin the apple. This is a little red house with no windows and no door, said Tara. That's not a house, said Jake. It is if you're a worm, said Tara. Mr. Tiffin smiled at Tara. Go on, he said. I think there's a star inside this apple, said Tara, where nobody can see it. If nobody can see it, who cares, said Robert. Well, I care, said Mr. Tiffin. Let's take a look. The class gathered round. Mr. Tiffin took the apple out of Tara's hand. Where's the hidden star, he asked. You'll see it if you cut it this way, right across the middle, said Tara. Mr. Tiffin borrowed a small knife from Farmer Hill's. He cut the apple in half right across the middle. When he pulled the apple apart, the class could see the 5-pointed star. Hey, Tara was right, said Molly. Just then, the bus rumbled down the lane. Let's give a cheer for Farmer Hill's class, said Mr. Tiffin, and they did. The donuts were great, Jake shouted. The class grabbed their jackets and bags and ran to go home. Come on, Tara, said Mr. Tiffin. When she got to the bus, Tara chose a seat by herself. She took a bite of an apple with a star inside. Then she looked out the window so she could daydream a little more. Ooh, and then there's a little notebook that Tara had. So it says Tara's Apple Orchard Facts. Orchards are pretty places because there are so many trees. And it looks like there is some notes on Mr. Tiffin's Apple Orchard Facts. So I'm going to hold that up right here, and hopefully you guys can see that, and you can read that another time. And that is the end of our story. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the virtual field trip that we're taking you for the apple orchard.